And now, coming to you live from Studio B in beautiful downtown Paris, Tennessee, My Paris TV and Paris Production Studios presents Keel Media Network's #1 rated program, The Mike Weatherford Show. Now here is your host, Mike Weatherford.
Survival, foraging, plant medicine. How did our forefathers survive without modern foods and medicine? We're going to find out some of the answers tonight with my special guest, Jonathan Lodge. But before I introduce Jonathan, I want to remind you about next week. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m., we got Jimmy and Blake Stewart. They're large farmers out there in my neck of the woods. We call them the Down and Dirty Farm out there. Also got Tim Brannon coming in. We're going to find out about these food shortages, cost of food, and just anything else we can get the answers to. Is these farmers going to be able to farm this year? Has the fertilizer gone up too high? Don't forget, tune in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. We're going to get some answers to some of this stuff that's going on. Also, don't forget, starting April the 5th, we'll be starting our Meet the Candidates forum we got going on there. We're going to start out with the district attorney race. We got Matt Stowe and Neil Thompson coming in. That's April the 5th, 7 p.m. live. Don't forget that one. That's going to be a good one. Before I get into all of that, let's talk about this survival and foraging and plant medicine and how our forefathers used to live. And you never know what we walk by every day that we might need to know about, because, you know, the way the world's getting, the way everything's getting right now, it might be a good time to keep up with what's going on out there. So I want to introduce my guest tonight. Y'all all know him as the Perilogic guy, Jonathan Lodge. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me back on here.
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to this one, man. What do you think?
I'm excited. When you asked me to come do this, I had a lot of ideas about what the show should be about, and we got to talking about some of this stuff, and you said, hey, this is what the show should be. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right now, the way the climate is going, it's probably a good idea to start learning how to try to at least supplement some of your calories off the land, especially here in West Tennessee.
That and some medicines, maybe, you know.
Absolutely.
With the world's going in, they got a thing called, what is that, SHTF? When it hits the fan.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that word.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we're closer than we've ever been about it hitting the fan.
Yep, the clock's close to midnight, as they would say.
It is. I mean, absolutely. We got wars, rumors of wars. We've got everything going on. We got Ukraine. They're still fighting over there. I mean, you know, some people says that, you know, there might be some stuff we don't know about over here going on over there, and I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a lot going on. But you know what? I feel sorry for the people.
Yeah.
They're the ones that's really catching it from that. You know, they just having a hard time.
Yep.
You know, and they don't know why.
And if you look at that conflict right now, you know, people, and this is in every conflict throughout human history, people leave the larger cities and they go out into the countryside. Right. So no matter what happens, you know, we're set up here in Henry County, I think, that we would be a lot better off than like Nashville or
for a while. Why is my earphones so hot? Everything's just wide open in my ears. I don't know what's going on here. Y'all need to turn that down a little bit, control room.
Mine's a little loud, but
yeah, it's busted in my ear. There we go. Now we're coming down a little bit right there. You know, everybody talks about I'll live off the land and I'll, you know, there's 30-something thousand people in Henry County.
Right.
Wouldn't take long. Wouldn't be no deer, no squirrels, no coons. Yep. No rabbits, anything left. 30,000 people after them.
Yep, that's true. Long. That's true. So, you know, a big part of, if we look in our history of how we used to survive and how we used to live, you know, in the last, let's say, 200 years or so, people didn't eat a whole lot of meat. Meat took a lot of energy to produce. So chickens were not really a part of our you know, eating habits until well into the 20th century. Chickens were kept for eggs.
Right.
Because they could produce eggs. And, you know, there was a lot of farming that was done. And when you would farm everything. There was you weren't monocropping like we are today. I mean, most farmers today, they might farm one or two things. Then, you know, is what we would consider a hobby farm now. I mean, most everybody had some sort of garden, some sort of farm that they would try to live off of. Plus, they would eat the weeds. They would go out and forage. I mean, they didn't call it foraging. I mean, they called it getting
That's
dinner.
a modern term.
That's right. That's a modern term.
What got you into doing it? Your experience with it? What made you? I call you an expert in living off the land. What got you interested? My ears are still hot. I don't know what's going on here.
I grew up in the woods. I've always been fascinated with, what I can learn from the woods. I've always been fascinated with just the ecology around me. So from a young age, I had Audubon books that I would constantly research and try to identify things. And my parents would tell you I'd bring home snakes and turtles and
I'm sure
everything, everything I could find, and was always catching creatures and stuff like that. And so I've always been fascinated with that. It really wasn't until I started having children that I really got fascinated with the edibles. I've always eaten wild edible foods. I'd bring home crayfish, and my mom would let me cook them up and things like that. Or I'd make like onion soup, just some of the easier things. Or I'd go, pick crab apples or blackberries or honeysuckle or.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I had children and I realized that I had somewhat of a responsibility to maybe learn to be able to take care of myself.
Talking about honeysuckle, there's a certain time it's good and a certain time it's bitter.
Yeah.
I never didn't understand. My dad could tell you, "Hey, let's try that."
Yeah, right. I always go by color. So if it's yellow, it's good to go. If it's white, it's just not quite there yet.
Okay.
So, and of course, most of the edible plants that we have around here, a lot of people don't understand this. They're not native species. Like the majority of the plants that we eat and that we forage for are not native species. But there again, we're going back to the Columbian Exchange. When Columbus came over and when the Europeans started to come over and they would bring things from the Eurasian continent, and of course they over the last 400 or 500 years have.
Kudzu's one of them.
Kudzu was a recent one, sure.
Yeah,
Kudzu was a recent one,
and it's edible.
It is. The most parts of kudzu are edible. The leaves are not, but the roots are used in medicine, and of course the flowers. People around here mostly make jam out of it. Mm-hmm. Back in the 30s, everyone was terrified kudzu was just going to completely take over the planet, and really they were wrong in the way kudzu grows. It grows in a very specific area, and once it reaches its limitations, it kind of just stops. Unlike like bamboo or something like that, where it would literally just take over. But we kind of have a history here of introducing species. That seems to be a thing that I really have an issue with as of late. Probably the most well-known and the most pervasive has been the Asian carp, and that just absolutely irritates me.
I've never understood why we allow, Asian carp. When I was a kid, they called them grass carp, Israeli and grass carp. Right. It may be the same thing or it may be different. You put them in your ponds, and the farmers did to keep the algae down.
Right.
And I hear that's what they was doing to Asian carps down in Mississippi, keeping them in those ponds down there. Then the floods washed them out into the river, and the rest is history. Is that kind of true?
That's right. So it's funny you say that, because in the 1880s, 100 years prior to this happening, we introduced those grass carp. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife, it was a different agency at that point, but they actually introduced those carp that you're talking about. So that was a purposely introduced species to cut that vegetation.
Right.
So then the Asian carp, 100 years later, they escaped cultivation off the Mississippi Delta. Now, the problem with the Asian carp is there are 11 different species of carp. Now, there's only 3 or 4 of the major ones, but they all are biologically different, so we can't attack the problem, by saying, oh, we can do this or do that, because all of them eat different things and have different behavioral patterns. So it is by far the most invasive species, probably, I would contend, on the planet in areas, because there's parts of Kentucky Lake that over 95% of the biomass is completely Asian carp. And the species that we are losing as a result of that influx, once they're gone, they're gone. And there could be a tiny little mussel or a tiny little clam that might have a chemical compound to cure prostate cancer or something like that, and it's gone now, and we'll never have it again. So
why do they breed so fast?
Well, because they
have no enemies.
I mean, basically, and There is silver linings in all of this. I like to bow fish for gar.
Right.
Gar is one of my favorite fish to eat. And the gar population has increased because of the Asian carp. Yeah,
there's a gar.
That's my son and I holding a gar that we actually shot on Bailey.
There used to be a lot of them down there in Britton Ford area when I was a kid. We used to go down there. There was everywhere.
Yeah.
You didn't see it. They went away for a while.
Yeah.
Are they good to eat?
They are my absolute favorite fish to eat.
Really?
Yeah. And
how do you cook them?
So you can cook them a bunch of different ways, but what makes them part of the reason what makes them my favorite is they're big and they are, people always say, oh, they're bony, gar bony. Yeah, they are bony, but they also have down their back just a pure white tenderloin. No fat because they're a predatory fish, right. So they don't have any of that off flavor that a lot of fish do. And because they're a predator fish, they have a very strong back muscles. So the texture is almost like a mix between like scallop and maybe like lobster. Doesn't taste like that, but the texture it's a lot more firm. Right. So traditionally people do gar balls where they'll grind up the meat and they'll add it just like hush puppies or something like that and fry it.
I figured they do it like they used to do mackerel. You do some of your carp, you just pressure cook it, bones and all.
Yeah. But this is so easy. So I just take literal 10 snips, go down the back, and then I just take my knife and I cut out the back straps, and you're left with these nice, long, just boneless back straps. And they're great for the grill, and it's seriously one of my favorite fish.
When you cook them, what do you take? Any herbs you find around here?
Of course, yeah.
Give me a recipe.
All right, let's see here. Of course, what people call onion around here. Wild onion is actually wild garlic.
Right.
I like to use that.
The little green stuff grows in your yard.
Yeah. I like.
It's stuff when you're mowing, you smell it.
Yeah.
You can eat that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Nothing else eats it. Cattle don't eat it.
Actually, it's interesting. A good rule of thumb. So the I'm going to mispronounce this name, but the Allium family is that family of onions and chives and all that. And a good rule of thumb in survival is if something kind of smells like an onion, most like 100% of the time it's going to be edible. So that's
really?
Yeah. It's not that you want to go around eating a bunch of onions all day long, right. But if you had
to, eat it.
But you can't eat it. Yeah. Another interesting food item that is used for seasoning is something called a spice bush. And spice bush was used... Henry County, yeah.
Okay.
Henry County. So you're looking at bottomlands next to creeks. Once you identify this for the first time, and you can Google pictures, they're very easy to identify, but they have these little red berries on them. And those little red berries are edible. And inside they have a seed that tastes much like peppercorn and lemon, like lemon pepper. And so you can take those seeds and dry them out and then actually put them in your pepper grinder and grind them. And the Native Americans, depending on the tribe, they would either separate the fruit and dry it out and then use the seed, or they would combine both, or they would disregard one, just depending.
Right,
yeah,
where you's at.
Right. And so another awesome thing about these is the leaves themselves, they smell like an orange mint. So it's a really good identifying characteristic. You take and you rub the leaf between your finger, and it smells like orange mint. And you can use teas out of that. It's actually good for respiratory issues, like a hot tea made out of spice bush leaves.
Right.
And my favorite thing to use is to smoke meat. So the wood is very aromatic. So you can you don't want to use it as your base.
Is it a bush or a tree?
It's a bush.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bush. It grows, probably maybe 4 to 6 feet. Like I said, it's growing near river banks. It's growing near bottomlands. There's a little park out on the Lake Highway with a little spring where there's spice bush lines that entire place.
People don't even know that's there, do they? They don't even know what it is. They spray it with Roundup.
Yeah, they have no idea. Yeah. It's one of my favorites because you can take just a small bundle of sticks and put it with your oak if you're like smoking a pork butt or something, and man, it just changes the flavor. If that's all you're using is smoked pepper and salt, which is what you should do, and smoke. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's one that's used a lot. Another one that's used a lot that is in everyone's yard is something called yarrow. Yarrow is an herb that's been used since the Greeks used it. I mean, it's been used forever. It's a very pungent herb. I like to mix it in and actually do like a tincture with oil and then use the oil to cook to flavor because it's such a strong herb.
What does it taste? Anything resemble it? What family would you call it taste in?
Oh my!
Pepper, spicy.
Yeah, no,
garlic.
It's more like a. I don't know the family that it's in, but it's more like a cilantro or a basil, a very strong herb, like a very strong herb flavor. It's very unique, just like cilantro doesn't taste like anything else.
Right.
But these are things that are all found in your yard. I mean, like your dandelions, you can eat every part of a dandelion, every single part, the leaves, the flower, the roots. The roots are great for making medicines. The flower, man, it's awesome. If you take the little yellow flowers and just take some light pancake batter and fry those up, they're fantastic.
Really? Out there in the yard?
Out there in the yard, Everyone
tries
tries to kill them. Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, they're good eating.
What got us away from all that, Jonathan?
So the major thing, especially here in the South, so if you go up north, there's still like morel mushroom festivals and things and ramp festivals and things like that are kind of hearkening back to that history. What got us away from it in the South, and this is my own theory, but I think a lot of people would agree, is the Great Depression. So the Great Depression hit us so hard in the South. We were literally eating our yards. The people that survived it, especially here, economically, were hit so hard. Because you think they're recovering, 50 years prior from the Civil War, and so it's already a poor area. This is before TVA really came in and helped a lot of these people out.
Here comes the Depression.
Yeah, right. And so the Depression hits, and so it was looked down upon for. Once we got out of it, it was looked down upon to continue those practices. You were looked at as poor.
Right.
And we're doing the American dream, we're pulling ourselves up from our bootstraps. We want to eat Spam. We want to have bird's eye peas.
Right.
Our Wonder Bread.
We want to look better.
Yeah, we want to look better. We've got to keep up with the Joneses. What we don't want to do is go out into our yard and poke around like a bunch of peasants.
Right.
And so the great-grandparents, your great-grandparents, they wouldn't have taught your or they would have taught them some, but it wasn't important to them because the future to them was bright, and we were going to the moon, and we had all these, so why would...
go to the grocery store and get your spices.
Of course, yeah. So why would we need to,
there's rumors, and I think this is probably one of the closest things about eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day. They said that during Sherman's march through the South, he burned all the crops, except he didn't kill some of the peas. He didn't think people would eat them. No, the black-eyed peas, he kind of left them. Oh, that's cow food. Let's leave that alone. Don't waste your time on that. And that's what people eat. Huh. That's how I read histories about that. But that's where the tradition in the South, Sherman's march through the South, that's where it come from, eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day.
Interesting.
Yeah,
there's a few other things that have come out of the Civil War that from foraging, because a lot of those armies themselves were starving. Yeah. I mean, they were being pushed through. And
Jennifer said she'd like you to be a leader for people who seriously want to learn this part as a small group. Said he wants you to be a leader and start
I've taught classes. I've taught classes all over. Yeah. I've just recently guest lectured at the University of Martin. I've taught down here at the Wildlife.
We need to get with her, Jennifer McKeesta, and see about starting a little group, teach these people. Everybody wants to learn. I think a lot of people, it's starting to be cool and faddish to do this, but it's also a necessity. Now, we don't know what this world's going to do.
Right.
Clint says that chickweed is his favorite wild salad part.
Yeah, chickweed's amazing.
Yeah. Let's go down the list to ask you some stuff here. What about willow trees? What can you do out of willow trees? There ain't many of them left, but I'll tell you what my mom used to do. But go ahead. What do you think?
Well, you have a headache now.
That's right.
That would take care of that headache.
That's right.
That bark would definitely take care of that headache.
My mama used to chew the twigs off of them.
Of course, yeah.
And she said it would help with headaches and any kind of ailments you had.
Sure. And it's also used for like wattle fencing and all sorts of interesting things that you can use it for, even though it's not a good lumber to build with.
No.
You can, there's pretty much, the way that a lot of these Native Americans looked at it, and I'm not making them out to be heroes, because they were not. They were human beings. They did horrible things to other human beings and to the world around us. But there's a really interesting theory, if you can follow me down this rabbit hole, is that there were larger Native American civilizations that existed prior to the Columbian Exchange. And this is evident by massive trade networks, and a lot of these cities would have been built of wood and things like that. So now we're starting to uncover more and more and more evidence of this. But my guess is during first contact, probably 90 to 95%, this is most people's guess, of the Native American groups died. So just like I was talking about with Ukraine, and just like we're talking about with a catastrophe, what they did was they left the cities,
right,
and they went into the rural, and so it was the strongest ones that survived. A lot of them didn't even know that certain mushrooms were edible, and other tribes would. So that goes to speak on. And
ask you this, Jonathan. I hate to butt in. How do you know which mushrooms are edible? Is there a certain key to look at that you say you can eat that one? Or is there anything to look at on a mushroom? Because I see mushrooms growing all the time.
You can eat any mushroom.
I didn't think someone was poisonous.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, you can eat any mushroom.
Well, you can eat it, but what ain't going to kill you?
I mean, you can eat them, but some only once.
Yeah.
Well, you're only going to eat them once.
How do you tell a mushroom you can eat every day?
Oh, I got you. So we can go through some really easy ones right now that people could Google and things like that. And I think we might have a few.
We got some clips.
We have some pictures. So there are what we call like the big five.
Right.
So there's about 5 that don't have anything that looks anything like it. They're very easy to identify. There's one. That's an oyster mushroom. So an oyster mushroom, it grows. It's saprotrophic, meaning it's growing off of decaying wood. So if you see those mushrooms growing on a tree, that tree has been dead for a while. So that's just a heads up.
That's good to eat.
That's great to eat. Yeah, and there's a little key that you can go online and figure out how to identify it. But they're super simple. They actually smell like oysters. They actually have the texture like oysters. They are very, very healthy.
You have to cook them or eat them raw?
You have to cook them. My rule of thumb is I cook all of my mushrooms because there are pathogens and things like that I might not want to be digesting.
Right.
Because, a deer could have walked by and peed on that or something. I don't know.
Or me, I could have walked by.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, Bigfoot. Hey, we done been down that road. Right? They're around. Have you found any Bigfoots?
No, I haven't, man. I've been looking. I've been looking hard.
You ain't looking in the right place.
I know.
What kind of tree you call that? Or just a dead tree?
Yeah, that's just a dead tree. So they're pretty much going to take over. They're going to be one of the first mushrooms to colonize. So you got to understand, when we're talking about mushrooms, we're talking about the fruiting body of an organism. So the majority of that organism is found
in a fungus.
The majority of that organism is actually found in that log.
Right.
So about 90% of mushrooms you don't see. You only see the 10% that comes out of the ground.
So what do you call that? That's the flower?
So that is actually the mushroom.
Would you pull that off and it'll grow another one later?
That's right.
You won't kill it by pulling that top.
No, actually, you're doing it a favor, because it's using, when it opens up like that, just like a flower, it's actually spreading its spores, which is what will go on to spread the mushroom in other locations.
Kevin, you got another picture too?
So, yeah. So,
what in the world is that?
So that one is an interesting one, and just to talk on that real quick, that is, some books say that's edible, some books say it's not. Yeah. I like to stick with the ones that aren't. And the reason why
I could tell you what that looks like.
Well, yes.
Looks like some kind of a...
It's very phallic.
I think one time I seen that, looks like a sex toy I seen over at my producer's house one night. It favors it. It may not be that, but it kind of looks like it.
So that's an interesting mushroom because...
Oh, we don't want to talk about that.
No. Well, I'm gonna address it because of the way it looks. It's called the Amanita Jacksonian. It's named after Andrew Jackson. So the reason why it's named after Andrew Jackson was because this is called a Caesar's mushroom. Now, in the old world, this mushroom was eaten for vitality. You see how it looks?
Yeah.
So it was consumed, and it was consumed by the rich of Rome. So Claudius was poisoned by Agrippa by a bowl of mushrooms. And so everyone stopped eating these mushrooms because they were afraid that they were poisonous.
Right.
And so when we found them in the New World, we named them after the American Caesar at the time, who was Andrew Jackson.
Got you.
So that's how it gets the name Amanita Jacksonian.
Anything bright red like that was kind of poison.
That's kind of
they used to think tomatoes was poison.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's
It's a nightshade.
because it was always anything in the red berries on bushes. You just told me some of them is not, but I was always taught my mother said if it's red, don't eat it.
Yeah. So with mushrooms, if you can pull up the picture of the chicken of the woods, it looks. That's my living room. We have some wall decorations. So
Really, is that growing? Or is that
no,
just
it's just a wall decoration.
got
But
you.
they are real mushrooms.
I thought you got some water issues.
No, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Well, go ahead.
Well, so chicken of the woods mushroom is in that top 5.
There's a hen of the woods.
Yep, that's hen of the woods.
That's one mushroom you're holding.
That's one mushroom. Yeah, that was about 38 pounds.
Back that up a minute,
Yep.
if you can. There you go.
That was about 38 pounds. That's a hen of the woods. It grows at the base of.
Go back. Well, I guess it's gone on a timer. How long did it take that thing to get that big?
I have no idea. I would say weeks. I mean, it doesn't take long. I mean,
Really?
yeah,
I
weeks
noticed
to days.
mushrooms in my yard to grow up overnight.
Right.
You go out there one morning, there's a mushroom, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Then it dies.
Yeah. Yep. So a good thing.
Put that last one back up on there. I don't know what it was, Kevin.
I think it was a chanterelle.
Yeah.
So a good rule of thumb.
Next one. Yeah, what is that one?
That's a chanterelle, and that is very edible, highly sought after. It's probably my favorite edible mushroom. It's one of the easiest ones to identify. Nothing else looks like it. They come out in June. They start coming out in June, July, August. They have a real long.
What kind of mushrooms do you buy? I honestly, I don't like mushrooms. Never have. I don't like them on my teeth.
No, you don't know that.
Yeah, they.
No.
Why don't I?
Because that's like saying I've had an apple, so I don't like fruit.
Okay.
But there's pineapples and strawberries and kiwis. You've only had one mushroom.
Well, I've tried them out. What kind of you buy in the store? What are them kind?
So those are so baby bellas, portobellos, white button, cremini. Those are all the exact same species of mushrooms.
Okay.
Those are all Agaricus bisporus.
So they're grown, like they say,
in
kept in the
Pennsylvania.
dark and fed bullcrap.
Most of the time in Pennsylvania.
Right. So they're cultured to be.
Yes.
So they're gonna have a different taste than one of them you just showed me right there.
That's what when I hear people say I don't like mushrooms, I'm like, hang on, you haven't had enough mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? It's
I'm with you. I'm letting you convince me.
You've got to try. We're gonna have to eat some.
Yeah.
Because the taste, the texture, the smell, everything is completely different for each mushroom.
Right.
So like puff balls that grow in your yard. You ever seen those puff balls?
You hit them, dust goes everywhere.
And dust goes everywhere.
We call them devil snuff.
Yeah, devil snuff. Yeah. So before they turn black, okay, they'll be white on the inside. White like angel food cake. This is one of the top 5. Okay, if you slice that up just like you would a steak, and you put that in a pan with some butter, salt, and pepper, it tastes like a mushroom-flavored ribeye fat. I'm not kidding you.
Really?
It is absolutely rich, delicious. It's one of my favorite mushrooms to eat. They're going to come out in the fall. And
everybody's got these and know where they're at anyway. Cattails.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell me how you cook them.
Man, cattails, you can do so freaking much with cattails. You can take the pollen. You can actually make a flour out of the pollen.
That's what I tried.
You can, of course, if you have an upset stomach or something like that, I can't think of the name of it, but the inner part of the cattail, the tuber, the actual tuber part, you take that cattail and you pull it up out of that swamp, that nasty swamp. And you pull back those outer layers until you get to that whitish, light green. It's real tender. Now, you can eat that raw. You can cook it. But it's real good for your stomach if you have an upset stomach. Mm-hmm. Super dense in nutrients, super dense in fiber. Of course, you can use every single part of the cattail for something. I don't really like to harvest a lot of cattails unless you're in an area where they're just very, very, very abundant. Because usually through harvest, unless you're cutting them, which I guess is what I need to do, usually through harvest you're going to destroy the plant. Right. Now there used to be there's things around here called wapato. They also call it Indian potato. And you can find places in Henry County where Native Americans have cultivated wapato patches, and those same patches still exist. Really? And we know that to be the case. We know that they were cultivated because of the areas in which they were cultivated. In other words, 50 feet down this way, there's none. 50 feet down this way, there's none. A quarter mile, there's a patch along that same stream. Now, the next stream over doesn't have it. So the conditions are exactly the same. But they put them there, and so because they're tuber-like, and what they would do is they would actually go dig down, and I've done it, and you're getting shoulder length into the mud to reach these giant potato tubers, and then what they do is they'll break the tubers off, so more will continue to cultivate, and then they'll take back the biggest pieces of the tuber.
Does it taste like an Irish potato?
Yes.
Tastes like a Russell or
they're high in oxalates or oxalates. You need to boil them, and that takes a lot of that out.
What does that give it? High in them words you said. What does that do to it?
Well, you don't want to take in a lot of that into your body. Of course, it's in most processed foods and things like that. Stinging nettle, for instance. Stinging nettle is a plant that everyone has grown around. If you've ever a little kid and you're running around the woods and you come back and your legs are on fire, it's because you got into a mess of nettle. Right. Nettle is probably the most nutrient dense, one of the most nutrient dense foods that you can eat that grow around here. In fact, it was one of the foods that saved a lot of Irish during the potato famine, right? Because it's one of the foods that you can eat, and it has complete. That's all you have to eat. You could just eat nettle.
Really?
But you have
What's it look like?
If you saw it, you'd be like, "This is a weed." I mean, it looks like a weed. It looks like a plant.
What amazes me is how the Native Americans, that's where most of this come from. They taught the settlers when they come over, is how they figured it out. Did they just take some guinea pig out there and say, "Here, come here, man, give him that," and watch him for 2 or 3 days? If he don't die, we'll take a bite? Or I
think starvation probably plays a key role in discovery and innovation.
Right. So
I mean, if you're hungry,
you'll try.
If you're real hungry.
What about clover? Red clover, white clover.
Oh man, medicinal uses.
That's in everybody's yard.
That's in everyone's yard. Yeah. So medicinal uses. I mean, I take the red clover and the white clover and take those when they're opened up and they're the most fragrant, and stick them in a windowsill, dry them out, and then you can use that for tea. And you know, people with allergies and things like that, they always say, well, eat local honey, eat local honey. Well, eat local clover too. Because that's
the white part.
The white part, the flower. Yeah, the flower.
Right. Just dry it out. Mm-hmm. How you make tea out of that?
I mean, just put it in with your favorite tea, or just hot water and some sugar, and absolutely.
Does it have a bitter taste?
Oh no! It's sweet. I mean, it's.
I got the dino clover growing in all my food plots, so I go out there and get the white blooms off of it. Yeah. I could probably get 100 pounds of them.
Yeah, there you go.
And just mix them in with my sweet tea.
Absolutely.
What's it do for your body?
I mean, it's it removes toxins. There's a lot of medicinal benefits to clover. Like I said, it helps with people with allergies. People use it for that. All right, so a lot of these plant medicines, they contain a certain amount of chemicals for a survival book or an Audubon or any of these books to say, hey, it's good for this, it's good for this, it's good for this. A lot of these plants, when you start reading it, may say 20 different things that it's good for, because it's containing a small amount of that plant compound. Right. So instead of us taking that aspirin, which is that one compound, it's like you're taking multiple compounds.
So they can cure a lot of different things. So it can help with a lot of things.
It can help with a lot of different things. So a lot of times it's kind of...
What's good for wounds?
Oh man,
you got cut on you, and you don't want to go getting on the Iosoporum. You don't want to go to the doctor. What's good to wipe on other than just mud?
Right. So you're talking about poultices right now, and there is everything from comfrey, which people have growing in their woods, to I'll tell you something in someone's yard is broadleaf plantain. Now, broadleaf plantain was an introduced species.
That's called white man's foot.
Maybe. Yeah, I think you're right, because everywhere that they went,
that's right. Broadleaf, they brung it here from England.
Yeah. I think you're right.
My mama used to talk about that.
Yeah. And we have narrowleaf plantain. Now, every part of that is edible and delicious. The seeds
everybody spray it. It'll grow out there in your driveway, right?
It's growing. It's growing. If you have a gravel driveway, it's growing in your gravel.
If you got a crack in your concrete, it's going to come up.
So take some of that, wash that leaf off, and then this is key. You want to use the amylose in your saliva, and you want to chew it up.
Right.
Okay. So don't put it in a blender with water. No. Use the amylose in your saliva. Chew it up, and then you can use that. Rub it on a wound, and it's particularly good for stings. I would put that against any sting cream spray that you could. Yes, absolutely. And I'm just.
What I want you to do is some of this stuff, if you remember, watch the show back, I want you to put pictures of those plants.
Okay.
On the Mike Weatherford Show.
Sure.
Link us to it. I want people to say, this is what this plant looks like I was talking about. That's very interesting. I'm sitting there listening to all that, just throwing stuff at you. Whatever I throw at you, brother, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I love this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I told you when we were talking before, man, I could talk about this stuff for hours on end. I
One
love
more
it.
thing before we go to break. I don't know if you've heard them in your ear, but they're in my ear. Tree bark. What kind of tree barks we got around here that we can use?
Man,
I know that's a big one.
About every one of them, you can use it for something. I mean,
pine tar.
Yeah, you can use pitch. You can use the tar. You can use ironwood bark for is a good tinder starter. Of course, sassafras.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are so many uses. If it's a live plant, animal, or fungus, we have figured out a way that we can use it.
You think God put it here for that reason?
I think God put it here for that reason, but I also think that we introduced a lot of things, and it's up to us. Hands-off conservation is no longer acceptable. It's up to us to take care of the land around us, because
it is.
We screwed it up the last couple hundred years.
I got a show next week with farmers coming in. They're going to talk about farming and sprays, and I'm sure they're going to talk about all the chemicals it takes in farming. It's a double-edged sword. We got to feed this whole country. There's 375 million people.
Right.
And if they can do it and make a loaf of bread only costs $1.50 by using spray, that's what they're going to do. We're in a position now in the scope of things where you kind of damn if you do and damn if you don't.
I mean, obviously, chemical, all of that has to happen right now with the way things are going. What I'm against, and completely 100% against, is, and I'll harp on this till my dying day, is the continuation of introducing plants and animals that should not be here.
I've been fighting that, like they talking about. I got to go to break. All those snakes down in Florida, those anacondas and all that stuff.
There's more of them than there are in their native range.
Why the hell would they even let them bring them? Why would anybody won't bring one over here? We got iguanas. Back that cold front down there in Florida. Remember, they was freezing, falling out of a tree, hitting people in the head. Told you, watch out, don't get under trees. Them damn lizards falling out, hit you in the head.
There's more Burmese pythons in Florida than there are in their native range.
Yeah. Why would anybody bring them over here? Why don't the law? If the government wants to do something, stop it. And all these darn plants are bringing in.
There's the problem, bud.
Bradford Parish is on the bad list now.
I know.
And all mine are gone, thank God. Mine are gone. All right, folks, they on me to take a break. We're talking with Jonathan Lodge, and I'm learning a lot. Send me some questions in, and I'll ask this man. He knows what he's talking about. We get back, we're going to talk some more. I'm going to ask him about lye soap, see if he knows how to make lye soap. And then I'm going to let Jonathan just rattle on and tell us what he knows. So we'll be right back after commercial break. Don't go nowhere.
This presentation of the Mike Weatherford Show is being brought to you by...
With a new name and a new location, Paris Power Sports is now Paris Outdoor Power. What's not changing, though, is the same great quality service and commitment to your satisfaction. Leading the area since 2016 as your bad boy and skag mower dealer, Paris Outdoor Power will continue to proudly bring only the best in outdoor equipment, including now TYM tractors, as well as outstanding, reliable service that is centered on and committed to creating long-lasting relationships. Come see our new showroom today, Paris Outdoor Power. Mow with an attitude and power on.
Napa Auto and Truck Parts. With over 95 years of experience, you can trust the Napa know-how.
Take Me Back Cafe. Delicious home-cooked family-style meals in a nostalgic, warm, and inviting atmosphere. Take Me Back Cafe. Great for the entire family.
And the attorneys at Hawley & McAdams, who with over 90 years of combined experience, pride themselves in competent, thorough representation, utilizing their vast experience in a broad array of practice areas. Voted favorite law firm in the 14th Annual Reader's Choice Award, Hawley & McAdams are proud and honored to serve you.
Shattering the image of standard nursing homes and committed to enhancing the human spirit, Charter Senior Living of Paris is focused on removing barriers that can prevent your success and a better life. A unique boutique community with many wonderful amenities, we offer various levels of quality care in an apartment and floor plan of your choosing. Learn more and request your free resource guide at charterparis.com or give us a call today. When physical assistance becomes a necessity, enjoy the peace of mind you deserve.
Don't let pain become a way of life. Voted 6 years in a row as the winner of Favorite Chiropractor in the PI Reader's Choice Awards, Dr. Dustin Forrester can help restore your sense of normalcy and help put some spring back in your step. We are proud to announce the addition of Dr. Grace Burden to our staff, providing the service of dry needling for all our patients. Call our office at 731-644-9000 to schedule your appointment today, and you could be another one of our many happy and satisfied customers.
The decision to buy or sell a home can be a difficult one, and it's important to have someone you can trust during that process. Landmark Realty is that someone, committed to serving you and to building solid, long-lasting relationships. Our experienced real estate agents with established professional networks work hard to help you find your perfect dream home. Browse our wide variety of homes at landmarkrealtytn.com or stop in at either of our 2 locations in Camden or Paris. Don't live in the past. Let Landmark move you into your future.
Whether it's real estate, business, criminal, or family law, civil litigation, estate planning, or even personal injury, attorneys Andy Clark and Chad Cox of Clark & Cox PLLC provide the experience and trusted representation that you're looking for. A long-standing Paris PI Reader's Choice favorite, Clark & Cox address your legal issues using the team approach, setting into motion a strong and highly competent and capable staff to assist you with all your legal needs. To find out more about how we can help you, visit clarkandcoxlaw.com or call us at 731-642-4446.
L.I. Smith & Associates, a full-service engineering and surveying company that combines 40 years of industry expertise with new cutting-edge technology to provide innovative solutions to real-world problems. Headquartered in Paris, the professionals at L.I. Smith are dedicated to providing high-quality surveying and civil engineering services throughout Henry County and the surrounding region. L.I. Smith & Associates, industry expertise, innovative solutions, and community-focused. 54 Fuel Mart, a great place to eat with friendly staff and some of the best gas prices in town. Stop in for a bite to eat or get treated like family. That's 54 Fuel Mart, 1213A West Wood Street in Paris.
For the last 35 years, Terry Leonard has litigated civil and criminal cases in both local and federal courts across Tennessee. Raised in Benton County and coupled with his background in small business and farming, Terry's experiences provide him unique insights on the challenges faced by West Tennesseans today. A Christian, conservative, and active Republican, Terry believes strong values create a strong community. Firmly believing that all deserve the right to be treated with dignity and respect, Terry has provided extensive pro bono legal work for the less fortunate. Terry Leonard, experienced, fair, honest, and caring. Vote Terry J. Leonard this May 3rd as your candidate for Circuit Court Judge.
Find out more at voteterryleonard.com. Paid for by Terry J. Leonard, candidate for Circuit Court Judge Division 2. Misha Adams, Treasurer.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Jonathan Lodge about, I don't know if foraging is a word to use. I don't think it is. I don't like that word. I talk about living the way the pioneers did, the way our grandfathers, grandparents. You know, there's a lot of things in our yards and our woods and just driving down the road, things you can see that you can eat that's good for you. You know, it's not processed food. It's natural food. And Jonathan's been enlightening me on a lot of stuff. Welcome back, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Well,
so right now, morel season's about to pop off.
Right.
That's the mushroom.
Where do you find them at mostly?
I'm not going to tell you.
Grounds?
I can't tell you, man.
No, I mean high grounds, low grounds.
So, you know, morel hunters, they keep their spots pretty secretive because they come back the same year. So what I look for is some loamy soil, kind of springy soil. And they grow high ground or low ground. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's a giant one right there. That's a good size one. So
like a sponge.
Yeah, they look like
something else I think over at the producer's house, but go ahead. That looks like a sponge.
So they're the most well-known wild edible mushroom. They grow everywhere. I look for them around. A lot of people look for elms, dead elms, sycamore. See, a big trick to there's my wife holding some we found in some mixed pine, which is kind of.
That's what I was going to ask you. Does the area you find them in change the flavor of them?
I don't think so. They're through genetic testing. They're actually finding that there's more. We only thought there was about 3 of them, 3 different species, but we're finding through genetic testing there's actually a lot more.
This is nothing that you do, but you do it. You know, when you ferment, if you was making whiskey, I was always told that when you making your your mash, the area that you're in, if you're in pines, it can make it bitter.
Yeah,
pine trees can.
Sure, it's fungus. Yeah.
I didn't know if them things grew different tastes in different areas of the country, or
no, they're highly sought after. You know, they go for probably I've seen them go for as much as $200 a dried pound. They are actually poisonous unless they're cooked. Which is kind of interesting. You have to cook them, or you will get sick.
They say poke salad can be poisonous.
Poke salad is poisonous. Yeah.
My mama, God, I used to pick that stuff up. Oh Lord.
All right. So pokeweed is poisonous. Now, when it's in its early stages, when the morels are coming out, is when you're going to pick poke.
Poke salad.
That's right. And
we used to pick that out, and my mom would always wash it 3 times before she cooked it.
Of course. And it's called sallet. SALLET,
right.
Which is based off of the French term, because it's not a salad. Like, you don't eat it raw. You cook it. How do you cook it?
Yeah, cook it.
Cook it in bacon grease.
Boil it, yeah.
Boil it and then cook in bacon grease.
Right.
Yeah. And, it's one of my favorite spring delicacies.
Turnip greens and poke salad.
That's right, yeah. You eat it with some crappie and some morels.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, dude. That's like the best.
There's them mushrooms that you... Look at that one.
Yeah, this is another example of something that looks poisonous, right? When you look at that and say, "Man, that's poisonous," that's an indigo milk cap. They're quite delicious.
Are they here in Paris?
Oh yeah.
I've never seen one.
You will start seeing these now that
you enlightened me.
Yeah,
That's
you will
cool.
start seeing them everywhere. I promise.
Does any of this stuff grow in swampy bottoms?
Of course, yeah.
Is that a better place? Or?
It just depends on what you're looking for. So different terrain is going to produce different mushrooms. Those are mycorrhizal, meaning they're growing in conjunction with a large host organism,
right.
Mostly oaks. These are mostly grow underneath oaks. And now the tops of them are kind of gray.
So that's the underside.
That's the bottom. That's the underside.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so you wouldn't really see that walking through the woods.
I mean, I do, but
sure.
But I mean, it's kind
How do you eat them?
Man, I saute them up with fresh vegetables, and they turn a gray color. They don't have that blue. They don't retain that blue color. Now you can put some like lemon juice and things like that. There's little tricks to keep that chefs do around the world, because a lot of this is making it into high dollar restaurants.
Right.
A lot of these foods are making it into like Husk out of Nashville, and yeah, that's right. So they're paying top dollar.
I know we don't want to talk about this, but you remember moonshine got popular because of Popcorn Sutton.
That's right.
Yeah, nobody didn't want to drink moonshine until Popcorn Sutton came out, and that was a cool thing to do.
Yeah. And mushrooms, of course, they've always had truffles. They've always had, truffle dogs and things like that. Yeah. But
do they have any medical value to a mushroom like that? They have anything? They help anything, and you buy it just good?
Probably the least medicinal mushroom on the planet is the Agaricus bisporus, which is the one that is found in stores. That has probably the least amount of nutrients of any of the edible mushrooms.
The way it's processed.
Because the way it's processed, and you think about it, it's got a long shelf life, and that. Now there's one that we actually grew in our garden. That's a wine cap. That's something. So we've grown mushrooms outside.
You plant that one?
Yeah.
How do you grow a mushroom, from a seed or?
It's from the spores. So what we do is we buy the spores, like the actual inoculant, and then we will take and inoculate. There's some grown indoor. Those are those oysters that we saw earlier on the tree. Right. Those are those oyster mushrooms that I'm actually growing indoor.
That just don't look good to me. That looks like a fungus among us.
It is a fungus.
Yeah, I know. It does not look appetizing to me. I mean,
well, you're not going to eat it like that, but
I would hope not.
Yeah.
Looks like it's growing on a roll of toilet paper.
I mean, yeah, it's got paper towels.
Yeah,
and
I know.
And that, and the thing is, it's just like brewing beer, just like making moonshine. Right. Growing mushrooms is the exact same process. You're going to sterilize the area, then you're going to add what you want to grow, and then it's going to grow off of whatever.
So you grow them yourself like that?
These are all my pictures. Yeah.
Man, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you this. You made a commercial for me, and we showed it. It went over real well.
Yeah.
I mean, thousands of views on it. Tell me about that owl. I got to know. I know you can't own an owl, but he's just a wild owl that knows you, right?
So
that's cool.
I think the statute of limitations has expired. Maybe
okay.
Now. So what happened was this was March, April.
Folks, what I'm talking about, if you'll look back, we made a commercial with Jonathan coming on, and he made himself. None of us was involved in that. He did it himself. Kevin put his name and stuff on it. And
come on.
No, Kevin put your name on it.
Oh, okay.
All he done.
I thought you said
Jonathan
Kevin
Lott.
put his name on it.
No, he put Jonathan Lott. Put your name on it.
We mean to Kevin. That's what it sounded like.
But anyway, at the end of that commercial, y'all need to go back and watch it. There's this owl that flies down. You're calling him in. He comes up and gets right there in that camera.
Yeah.
Tell me that history about that thing.
So it was April 2020. Of course, the pandemic's hit. Everywhere's closed. Everything's closed down. We find this baby barred owl. It had been falling out of the nest. We found where the nest was. Of course, Mama was right by it. Mama was trying to feed it some crayfish. It still was just a fuzzy, it was the size of this Napa cup. It was tiny. And I called everyone that I possibly could to try to take this thing in. Was it on the ground? It was on the ground. Try to take this thing in because it is a felony to mess with these things. And my kids were there, and my wife is just a huge animal lover, as am I, and we said, okay, look, we're going to try to save this thing, but we cannot keep it in our house. We're not going to have it in a cage or anything like that, but we're going to try to rehabilitate it. So that's what we did. I built a box outside about 15 feet off the ground to keep other animals from getting to it, and I had a ladder, and twice a day I would feed this owl, as it grew, things that we had to catch. Because you couldn't go and get Tyson chicken and stuff like that. We had to get frogs and crayfish and birds and rodents and whatever we could catch to feed this thing. And then eventually it started to fly, learned how to fly. And so we thought, well, that's it. That's it for the owl. It's just going to fly away. Well, they don't want to go away if they're being fed. This is how falconers catch wild falcons, and they make them their own. As long as they're getting fed, they're not going to go anywhere. They're smart. Would? Yeah, they're smart.
It's kind of like men, and when they get a good woman, they feed her, they ain't leaving.
They're not. Yeah. So I trained it to where I could call it, and it would come in that video. It's actually landing on my arm.
Right.
And it just lived outside, and it eventually didn't live in the box. It would just live in the cedar trees next to the house. And it would follow my truck home at night, and it was crazy. It was
your mama.
Yeah. And it would constantly beg for food, always begging for food. It got to be a chore. We couldn't go on vacation, we couldn't do anything, so we had to feed this house. So finally, I'm calling everyone that I know, calling different states and agencies and all this. Like, how do I get this? How do I successfully rehabilitate this owl?
Or get it off the tee.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so what we had to do was we had to train it to hunt. And I don't know. That was probably one of the more brutal things I had to do, because you have to maim animals close to death. I feel like when I get to heaven, Jesus is going to be like, hey, whoa, I got to show you something. You remember when you were stepping on these rats and they were half dead and you let them suffer? But the owl then learned how to hunt, and it started bringing back food to show us that it could hunt. One day I was painting the porch, and it dropped a snake. Still alive.
We wouldn't have been friends no more.
We'd
have been divorced.
A yellow belly water snake on my porch.
It could have been a copper-headed rattlesnake for all I know, because it'd have been over.
It wasn't. So eventually we stopped feeding it. It was bringing more and more food back. It stuck around for a few weeks after we stopped feeding it, and would show us the food that it was bringing back. And then
trying to feed you. Then.
Yeah, and then it left. And then a couple weeks later, it came back with a couple other owls with it, which was the coolest thing. And I was taking out the trash one evening, and it just lands right there. and it starts and then I hear the other ones, woo, 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 and they're all calling off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he brought back because they were probably like, hey, this idiot's gonna feed us, guys. I know where we don't worry about all this. I know where we can get a good meal. But he was successfully rehabilitated. We did the same with a turkey.
Do you see him anymore? Is
I
it
don't
a girl
know.
or a male?
I don't know.
But they don't land around you no more.
No, but when I see a barred owl in the middle of the day, I'm an idiot because I'm completely by myself and I put my arm out and I'm going, come on, big guy, come here. And there's just this owl that's just like blinking at me, and
he's thinking you've been eating the mushroom.
Yeah, it's like, it's probably not even the same owl, but every time I see one, I'm like, hey, bud, it's me, come here, But we did the same with a turkey. We hatched a turkey egg, a wild turkey I hit with a bush hog, and we rehabilitated that, and it actually went off with other turkeys eventually, and that was really cool. And we've done that with a few animals that just to give them a fighting chance, and
we need more of that.
Yeah.
I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first one to help an animal.
Yeah.
If people tells me I'm lying when I say that, if I seen a record book buck hung in a fence during deer season, I'd probably cut it and let it go.
Sure.
That's just the kind of guy I am. I give it a chance.
There's a lot of laws against doing things like this, and so there's
always to protect idiots.
I understand that, but you always run. So I try to communicate with TWRA. I try to communicate with the parks. I try to communicate with LBL. I try. If I'm doing something like that, I don't necessarily want to make it a secret. I want to look. I'm trying to help this thing out. What should I do? Or an injured animal or something that
Getting to animals. What are some of the animals you've eaten? A lot of wild. I can tell.
A lot of wild stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you've eaten that people don't. Our viewers ain't even never heard of.
Yeah.
Coyote.
Yep.
Bobcat.
Oh yeah, bobcat's my favorite. So there's a good sized bobcat that I took. That bobcat is my favorite meat in the woods. And before people anthropomorphize it and start thinking it's their little kitty or whatever, there's 300 to 500,000 of these things in the state of Tennessee. That's a lot. Yeah. They're very, very elusive. They don't have natural predators, no checks and balance. I'm not saying that everyone should go out and kill as many bobcats as you can. I harvest.
They're hard on your turkey, which I want somebody to be hard on. My hunting farm is covered in turkey.
Sure.
And I got people down there trying to kill them.
I've kept the pelts. I've kept the dew claws. How do you
eat a bobcat?
Just like you would a deer, you're going to take out the quarters and you're going to take out the back straps.
Everybody asks this question.
No.
Does it taste like bobcat, or has it got its own?
It has its own taste. It's a sweeter meat, almost like pork. Now I do have to make a public disclaimer.
Yeah.
Every single bobcat has trichinosis. Every single one. So
what is that?
So trichinosis is a parasite that gets in your body, and it's a worm, and it'll actually lay eggs in your muscles, and they'll calcify. So when you eat an animal that has trichinosis, you've consumed those eggs and they've hatched in your stomach, and that has started the reproduction cycle over again.
Why the hell would you eat one then?
So pork has to be cooked to 165 because of trichinosis. Now, with modern pork farming, the FDA actually lowered the cook times because pigs aren't touching the ground. Right. Pigs don't actually ever touch the ground anymore. Wow. So if you get a pig from a farm, you need to cook it to 165. That kills the trichinosis. All bears have trichinosis. You got to kill 165. Bobcat, 165. What I'm getting at is, I know you, if you're a deer hunter, you probably like to eat your backstraps on a little bit of the rare side, which is fine. Now with bobcat, they need to be 165 or greater.
Some of my friends, they like to walk up. They'll order their steak and it's still bleeding.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go out there and take a bite out of a cow? Hell, you never have to buy nothing. You just take a bite, it'll heal up. You go back next year and take another bite.
That's right.
I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I want my meat cooked anyway.
Yeah, but like with deer, if you overcook it or duck, overcooked duck is gross. But if you cook that just barely pink and you have a crispy skin, there's nothing fine.
They say you can't eat a crow. Is that true?
I've eaten tons. I love crow.
The old saying, you got to eat some crow.
So there's an interesting history that we lost again over the depression of crow eating. Right. Yeah. So do you know?
It used to be robins
Oh yeah,
During
World
World War II,
they
they fly back and forth to England.
That's right.
And during the war over there in England, they killed so many robins, they almost went extinct. That's what they was living off of.
There used to be a season here in Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah, back in the day. Now crow it's very, very good, and as nasty as they are as an animal, the reason why they don't get diseases and die is because they're very resistant to these things.
And they're smart.
They are about one of the smartest things and coyotes are about the smartest things in the
pigs.
woods. Yeah.
Wild pigs pretty darn intelligent.
Now, but with crow, I mean, they're of course you just breast them out, but they're delicious. They're very irony and.
Some lady wants to know if crow tastes like chicken.
No. Crow's very dark meat, very irony. It's not gamey. It's just got a very distinct flavor.
It ain't something you want to eat every day.
I would. To me, it tastes like chicken liver almost. If you like chicken liver, yeah. So
what about possum?
I've eaten it. I don't really like to. Not that they taste bad, but
there ain't much lean in it.
Yeah, they're so dumb. I just feel so bad. They're just like a coon is smart.
How about what we call them things? Oyster on a half shell.
Armadillos?
Yeah. They say them things got Legionnaire or something in them.
They've got leprosy.
Leprosy, that's right.
Yeah.
Do you eat them?
I have. I don't really.
You really have eat one?
Yeah.
Is there anything you haven't eat? Any animal?
So one of my goals is if there's a season for Tennessee, if there's a season for it in the state of Tennessee, I want to hunt it, cook it. And eat it, not trap it, but hunt it, cook it, and eat it.
Well, is armadillo good to eat?
It depends on who you ask. I don't like it. Okay. I thought it was not very good. Snapping turtle's another one. It's very, very good. Snapping. Now you can only get the common snapper. You cannot get an American an alligator snapping turtle. But snapping turtle's good. But it's one of these that when you process it, just because of as you can imagine, you need to take a day before you actually eat that thing because
it's kind of like a rabbit.
Yes,
you skin a rabbit, they awful nasty.
You need a day. That's right. Soak them in their buttermilk or whatever.
Used to tell me that turtle meat had different taste.
The 7 different tastes of turtles. That's right. Absolutely, and it really does. It really does. And
beaver.
I love beaver.
Muskrat.
I love it. In fact, they're
what's that?
All right, so that's a beaver.
For the meat and the pelt.
Yeah, that's a 50-pound beaver that
you cook the tail.
You can. I don't prefer them. A lot of the trappers back in the day did because of their diet that they really needed fat. But beaver's actually very, very lean. As fat as that guy is, all the fat is on the outside. And when you actually get to it, it's very lean. And if I were to cook you beaver, it would taste exactly like beef. Exactly like a beef roast. If I did it in a roast and I lined up 10 and you say pick out the one that's beaver,
you couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell. It's the same texture, everything as beef. Yeah.
Oh man.
And a lot of people, we
don't have a lot of beaver around here like people think we do.
Yeah.
I used to trap them.
Yeah.
We don't have many as we did. What happened?
There's
people say, "Oh, we got plenty of corn at my house." Yeah, you do, but it used to be all over Henry County.
Yeah, they're starting to come back. I trap them. Now I have hunted them just to as a part of that what I'm trying to do. But I trap them. I use snares. Mm-hmm. Snares,
we used to use.
Converse.
I go to your house and get your smell. You get my smell. That's how we done it.
Of course, yeah. The casters.
That's right.
Yeah. Now the casters, actually, the castor glands. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, the castor glands on the beaver are the thing that they use. They have pheromones that they use to communicate with other beavers. A little known fact is castor is used in the production of pretty much every high-end cologne and perfume. Mm-hmm. It's used in sodas. It's used in candies. It's used in ice creams. So LaCroix, all the people at home watching LaCroix, right? Mm-hmm. And it just says water and natural ingredients. And they said, well, look at me. Well, those natural ingredients on the back of that can might contain 200 things. And one of them might be beaver anal glands.
That's right.
So enjoy, folks. When it says natural ingredients,
you have some butthole.
That's right. Yeah. But they actually go for more money now than the fur does because our fur market is mostly overseas. Our fur market's mostly in Russia and China. When things aren't going so well over there, then the fur market drops.
What are they using for over there?
Hats and coats.
Really?
Which is what we used to, and PETA in the 90s did a good job of kind of getting away from the fur trade. Because a lot of the fur trade was like anything else. Once they found out it was profitable, they were exploiting the animals to the point.
Killing them, going through, taking them off.
Mink farms.
Kind of like when you hunt ginseng. They go through and wipe it out. They don't put none back.
They don't put any
the berry back.
Which is state law, by the way, now. You have to put the berry back.
You need to.
So, yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't have to tell anybody that. Exactly.
No, I don't understand people thinking, like, what the hell? You can't go out there and just wipe it all out.
Yep.
And then come back and say, well, they don't have any. Well, hell, no, you ain't going to have none. You can over-harvest anything.
Yeah. Well, the market... The market hunting of the 1800s and early,
that wiped it out.
That just about wiped it all out.
What's that?
So that's my favorite. That's the
Chanterelles. Oh, he didn't show us that earlier.
That's the Chanterelles that come out. They're my absolute favorite. They're one of the easier ones to identify. There's about 9 different species that grow here, so you can always bottomlands. When you're talking about bottoms, that's where you're going to go, and you're going to find Chanterelles. But you're also going to find some cottonmouths.
Persimmons, I knew that too.
There you go. Yeah, man. A lot of people are like, oh man, persimmons are tart. I don't know how you eat them. Yeah, but if you have a ripe persimmon like those, you find them on the ground. You can literally spread those on toast with some butter, and it tastes like jam. They're absolutely fine.
They're sweet when they're on the ground.
They're super
Deer
sweet.
love them.
Oh, yeah. You hunt around persimmons. My gosh. Yeah. We've used them for beer making. Of course, those are more oysters, just like the ones we grew in the buckets, just like the ones off the other. Now, that's an interesting one. That's Hericulus Coralitis, which is the bear's tooth comb, and that is related to the lion's mane.
That right there, I wouldn't. Somebody had to be desperate to even try to eat that. That don't even look appetizing.
It tastes a lot like crab. It's got a sweet kind of nutty flavor to it.
Really?
But the best thing about that mushroom is the medicine. Now, the medicine that mushroom provides, it does something that nothing else can do but mushrooms, which is neurogenesis. So neurogenesis is literally rewiring the pathways of your brain. Okay, so PTSD.
There's a lot of people out there that need some of that. I need it too.
Well,
this will help my brain.
Absolutely. So when you buy supplements from the store, like mushroom supplements, they're always going to contain something called lion's mane, which is in the same family as that right there. Which lion's mane do grow here. I find them all the time. But that neurogenesis is so important because when you go through a traumatic event or stress or anything like that, your brain tends to rewire its pathways. Alcoholism, things of this nature. Your brain actually rewires the pathways. So things like that, taking that in supplements or eating that on a daily basis will create that neurogenesis. So some of the psychedelic mushrooms have an even more potent potential to rewire the brain.
I was going to get to that. Well, what mushrooms, what is the magic mushroom? What's that?
That's corn smut. And that is a delicacy.
That grows, we kill out on corn.
Of course you do. Okay. Yeah. And so
I thought that was.
A lot of people that are growing their own sweet corn and they're not spraying, they'll get 1 or 2 of these, and when they do, I freak out if anyone ever brings, because it's so good. It's such a good, amazing mushroom.
That takes over the corn.
That takes over the corn. That's right.
Well, what do you eat it?
It parasitizes the corn, and it completely changes the molecular structure of the corn.
You just eat that, grind it up, cut it up. How do you eat it?
It's a mushroom.
Man.
Yeah, dude.
Huh.
And it tastes like just rich umami flavors. It tastes really, really good. It's unbelievable. And the texture, you would think that you were eating like steak or something.
Really?
It's just.
Show some more pictures. That's pretty interesting. There we go.
So that's the one that everyone knows. That's the Mario mushroom. Wow. That's the Amanita Muscaria. Yeah. That mushroom brings up the mythology of Santa Claus. That mushroom actually contains an intoxicant called muscarol. So this isn't an illegal psilocybin-based mushroom like the magic mushrooms, but this mushroom actually causes almost like a drunkenness, a euphoria. And people in Siberia and that area would eat these things. Reindeer will eat these things to get drunk.
That's right.
And this is why.
Is that why reindeers fly?
So the shamans of Siberia would eat these mushrooms, and it would the muscarin, which is a different chemical than the muscarol, would actually make their cheeks red, and they would laugh and be jolly.
Right.
And their reindeer would fly.
Right.
Do you see where? This is where the Santa Claus mythology comes from. So
do them grow around here?
They do. This is on the very, very southern portion of the area. Now, there are about 9 other different, or I'm sorry, I misspoke. There are about 11 other different Amanita Muscaria species that are growing in this region.
So you just don't want to go out and eat that one. You make you do some stupid stuff. Like Boone's Farm wine used to do us with.
Yeah, more than anything else, it's going to give you a tummy ache. Oh, okay. More than anything else, it's going to give you a tummy ache.
Go ahead, Kevin. I'm going to see some more of this.
So that's a garden giant. That's another mushroom that we actually grew. And so there's different ways to grow mushrooms. You know, you can grow them on logs where the Japanese pioneered, where you could drill holes in the logs and then hammer in these little dowels that are inoculated with the mushroom spores, right?
You just shake the spores out of them, right?
Or you could do that when you're doing something like this. You're going to shake it on some mulch, and you're going to keep that mulch nice and wet until that mycelium.
Kind of like black mold.
So have you ever been digging in the garden and you like lift up the shovel and there's like that white spider webby stuff? That's mycelium. That is the majority of the mushroom. So 90% of the mushroom is that white stuff that you're seeing.
Okay.
The only 10% is what is the actual mushroom
itself. Kind of like an iceberg. You only see the 10% of the iceberg, the rest of it's under the ground.
So when you spray anti-fungicides and things like that, you're killing all of these neuro pathways of the mycelia that's growing throughout the forest.
Reason for being here?
Decomposition.
Okay.
And we're more related to mushrooms than we are plants, by the way.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin. Show some more.
And we're right now, every breath that we take, we're breathing in mushroom spores.
That a lot of people didn't know. The Forrest Gump was modeled after Jonathan Lodge. That's a fun fact.
That is a true, 100% true.
That's a 100% true story. I mean, folks, we got,
Tom actually wrote me we're on a first name basis, but he actually wrote me a note and said, hey, thank you.
Yeah,
for the inspiration.
It does. Do you got a Bubba Gump hat?
Yeah, of course.
I know what you did. Yeah. A lot of people didn't know that, but
that was when I was kind of trying to like make people uncomfortable in the grocery store. You know what I mean? That's the look I was going for. Yeah, they would like do a Code Adam when I had my own kids with me. Yeah. I had my own kids, and I was like, no, these are mine. They'd lock down the store.
That was some good stuff right there. Got a guy actually. A couple of people here. Clint says that a poison mushroom rubbed on the skin will give you a rash. Another guy says you can use honey on wounds, which I knew that. I'm sure you did.
Of course,
too.
It's innocent.
And Clint asks, when Jonathan goes camping with his family, does he bring food or just a knife?
So I'm completely naked.
Right.
And just a knife between my teeth, and that's it. Now
you let your toenails grow out about 3 inches.
I let my toenails grow out.
So you can crawl them crease.
Dude, but listen, this is what is so...
No, they're not making fun of you. They're just...
No, this is what is so much fun about going out into nature and finding food. When you take your little ones out to mushroom hunt, and my 3-year-old, my 5-year-old, my 7-year-old, my 8-year-old, we all can identify the mushrooms safely 100%. My 3-year-old can 100% safely identify the mushrooms.
If the people wants this, if my viewers are likes this kind of stuff, you had Jennifer McKeesta, she was talking about starting a group.
Sure.
Why don't you and I go out there to my hunting cabin? I got a farm out there. We've got swamps. We got everything. We'll get some of the camera guys to go with us.
Yeah.
And we'll go. I'll follow you, and you can do some foraging.
I don't know if you want to follow me, but yeah.
Why is that?
You follow my footsteps, you might step in something.
That's okay. And we'll do some foraging.
Yes,
and
that'd be awesome.
You say all this. I want you to make me a meal off of what you can get off my farm.
We could do it.
I mean, it'd be a vegetarian meal unless you want to.
It might not be.
Yeah, it might be something we can shoot down there. There's all kind of animals.
Yeah.
But let's do that. Don't you think that'd be pretty cool?
I would love that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We go up there. I got an outdoor kitchen. We can cook it in that. You can sit there and we'll film it all.
Absolutely.
We'll edit it down for about an hour show and we'll release it. But I want to get everything every bit of that meal. I want you, Jonathan Lodge, to forage it off my place.
Sure.
That'd be pretty good.
Salt and oil are going to be the hardest. Those are the only two I'm going to have to bring.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Be fine. That's what most settlers did. That's what most pioneers did. Is that they would bring
some bear fat,
some render.
Yeah,
some bear
or
render.
Bacon grease.
Yeah.
You got nobody keeps bacon grease no more. When I was a kid, my mother had a lard. I tell you how old I'm a lot older. Had a lard bucket.
Yeah,
big chrome metal lard bucket set in the kitchen.
Right,
and she had a cup in it. She dipped that cup out and throw it in the skillet. That's how I was raised.
Yep.
And then some other friends of mine, they got bear fat. They do the same thing with it.
Yep.
You ever use bear fat?
Well, so that's on my list is to get a black bear in East Tennessee.
Yeah, I kill one.
Yeah, that's on my list. I don't want to go somewhere to do it. I want to do it here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I've been scouting some areas to maybe do it in the next year.
Yeah, I killed a bear. I don't know. It's been 10. I had the hide and the teeth and all. I killed them up in North Carolina.
And I heard the meat is amazing.
It's okay. What I eat was crock potty. You got to acquire a taste for it.
I got you.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I'm a meat eater, so I can try anything meat. I like my preferred is beef.
So I can bring crow.
Yeah. Bring crow.
Okay.
We got plenty of crow. My place has got squirrel, rabbits, turkey, deer, coyotes, beaver.
We'll eat some coyotes. There you go.
Beaver. Even got buzzard. You can't shoot a buzzard, but I'd like to. They just roost all over down there. I got power lines that runs through my place, and them things get on them power lines. It's just nasty around here. It looks just dead.
Yeah. We'll do it, man. That sounds fun.
That would be fun to do that.
Heck yeah.
Take a show, and you just everything. We'll get camera guy. Would you go with us to the woods, Tramps? He'll go.
We'll see how many. We'll make a competition. See who can get the most ticks.
Well, that'd be me.
I can get one at Kroger.
Yeah.
I can get one.
They're telling me to wrap it up, but you know how ticks used to be. And I was a kid, you pull them off and just went on about your business. Now that damn things that swell you up like a bull. What is in these ticks?
Genetically modified.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know. We got to drink a lot of whiskey before we go.
And beer, periodic
beer. Whiskey's better though. If you get the ticks drunk, they fall off on their own.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. How is the best way to avoid chiggers in the woods? Anything naturally? Any kind of propellant?
I mean, mud.
Mud?
Yeah.
What about anything that we can burn to keep the mosquitoes away? They're in my ear pretty heavy to go.
They're all sorts of stuff. Man, we've got to do a show. We got to do a show for sure.
Would you do that with me?
Yes, of course.
I would be.
We'll wait till the cottonmouths really get out good and going.
Oh, now, I got a swamp down there on me. If you want to go cottonmouth, I'm going to warn you right now, I will have a gun or two. I ain't playing no damn snakes. I tell you that right off the bat. If you tell me we're gonna eat snake meat, no, we ain't. That's the only thing. We'll have a fist fight over the snake. I don't do snakes.
You can eat. Yeah, absolutely.
I ain't eating no snake.
Yeah.
I eat some rattlesnake one time. When they told me what it was like eating rubber.
Yeah. They just cooked it wrong.
But everybody else said it was good.
Oh, well. Everyone else, were they drinking? Were you drinking? Who was drinking?
I don't drink.
Oh, I know. And I don't carry guns, so.
That's right. So we'll be. Well, one of us lying.
That's right.
Maybe both. Have you had fun?
I have, man. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it, man. I learned a lot of stuff right here. I do want to do, because you and I had talked about that kind of show.
Yeah.
That would be cool just to do a show with Jonathan Lodge, foraging through the woods and showing people stuff, and we'll harvest it all, and we'll edit it all out. We'll carry it back up to the camp. We'll cook it. We'll eat it, and
have fun doing it.
Have fun doing it, man. I mean, I'll show you the place. We can ride.
There'll be a lot of first. I think I could get everyone to eat, because I'll cook enough for everyone to eat.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fun. And who knows, I might even bring some meat. I got friends of mine. I might even get us some bear meat.
There you go. I'd love to try it. I'm serious.
I got some friends of mine. I can get bear meat.
Heck yeah, man. That'd be awesome.
Any weird thing like that?
I'll bring gar. I'll bring all kinds of stuff.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll try.
I think the producer, you'd like that show, wouldn't you?
He doesn't now. See, he's silent.
He's silent. We didn't invite him. He's going to be a butthole about it. Do what? He said he hunts the bear. No, you can't hunt naked in Tennessee.
We'll put a Bigfoot costume on. We'll maybe get some footage of that. Yeah. That'd be awesome, dude.
While we're
foraging.
Right, you can look for Bigfoot.
Yes.
What do you think, Kevin? He'll be there. All right, John, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir.
I really enjoyed you
Absolutely.
coming on. I think we've got a lot of stuff out there to people.
Yeah,
it went by quick. We're over time, but who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's all right.
It don't matter. But we didn't get to cover a lot of things I want to talk about.
That's all right.
But I had fun.
We'll do it again.
We're going to do it again. We're going to do that show. All right, folks. We had a good time. Jonathan Lodge really enlightened us on some stuff. I mean, you never know what we've got here in Henry County. And you don't know the people we've got in Henry County. That's the guys we try to bring on the show and the girls. Henry County's really blessed. I mean, we've got people like Jonathan that knows out there, and we're trying to share it with you. And there's a lot of things we could have talked about in this hour show, but, you only got an hour. We've been over an hour. But anyway, don't forget, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. live, we got Jimmy and Blake Stewart, large farmers that we call them Down and Dirty Farm out there where we are. Also got Tim Brannon, who besides being a farmer himself also owns B&G Equipment. We're going to find out about what all the shortages, the price increases the grocery store means to the local farmers. Also, has the cost of farming went up, and can the American farmers still feed the world? And what does the wheat harvest in Ukraine mean to us, the American people? Tune in to hear it all about, from the horse's mouth, as we say, about the food supply in America. And don't forget, starting April the 5th, we're going to meet the candidate. We're going to have the DAs, people running for DAs going to come in, the judges, and we're going to have them all come in. We're even going to have the new state reps that we have. We got 2 of them now coming in. We're going to all talk with these guys, and we're going to share with you what they say, and you can ask your questions. So I want to appreciate you tuning in tonight. I want to thank all the viewers, and I want mostly thank my sponsors also, because they really, without them people, we couldn't do this show. So don't forget, next Tuesday, the 29th, I think my right. Yep, the 29th. Don't forget it, and don't be late. See you next time.